today we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, and I'm not just talking about how big and fat the 911s have gone, but this might be our last chance for a 911 that you'd consider really a true 911. And there's going to be big shoes to fill, because today I actually drove here in the 997 GT3 RS, which is the best 911 ever made. 992s so far have not been my favorites, other than the ST and the Sport Classic, which were not bad. Still, I don't think they justify the price tag. This today is the Carrera T, the baby GT3. And if you live in Canada, this thing is unbelievably expensive because we have luxury tax, where you're buying a base 911 for $200,000. And if you think about that, that's the same price as a 991.2 GT3. So today we're going to drive it, one of the last manual 911s. Hopefully not forever, but at least right now in the lineup. I'm really hoping it doesn't disappoint me like the GT3 did, but one way to find out. Let's go drive it. Okay, so let's get into this 911. Now, before we start, again, this is going to be a very non-biased review of the car because I'm not getting paid by Porsche. I don't really care to get any good allocation by Porsche. I don't care if they hate me too much. So we're genuinely going to see if this car is good from an opinion of someone who just drove here in the GT3 RS 997. So there might be some crap talking, but we will see what happens. Okay, so we're in the car already. I don't know, a little worrying because steering wheel is power with a button, which for a lightweight kind of baby GT3 car, not what I'd expect, but again, promising enough. The shifter does feel pretty good. I'm actually really liking this so far. Of course, we get into a car, first thing we gotta do, turn the exhaust on. So the exhaust is on right now. Suspension, let's make it stiffer, because this is not supposed to be a comfortable car, even though I think most 911s nowadays are kind of just like fancy RS5s. Parking brake off. Let's see. So funny enough, we are actually at Porsche Markham, where there's going to be a huge event tonight. I think they're expecting like 4,500 people. So definitely a weird time to kind of go and review a car, but the event starts in 2 hours. There's already a weird amount of people here. But we are going to get out of here somewhere a little bit more empty where we can have a little bit of fun with the car. Okay, so we just put the car in Sport Plus as it should be. The clutch is a little interesting. So again, I just came from the 997 GT3 RS, which is probably the heaviest clutch I've ever felt in a production car. This is not as soft as what I remember the 992 GT3 being, which is a very good sign. And then this shifter is actually super notchy. I really actually like the way the shifter is, which was a problem with the other manual 992s because it kind of felt like you just put a manual in there to say they did a manual, so you don't complain and you can kind of say you have your analog feel. But this feels like this car was supposed to be with a manual. The rev matching is great, and this shifter, if you look here, the wooden shifter looks freaking awesome. Other than the modern 992 interior, I actually really like this, and I think the blue here means it's like some T package. I'm not gonna lie to you, this is not gonna be the most researched review you've ever seen. I'm straight up gonna tell you guys what it is like to drive the car. The car is pretty much a Carrera, that's lighter weight, a little more driver focused, 388 horsepower. But driver focused is the main thing, because I feel like the 911s have kind of gone out of touch with that recently, and the only ones that really felt like 911s have been the Sport Classics and the STs. And the problem with that is those are two cars that you can't just go and buy. You have to buy everything in order to buy those, or at least buy a good amount of cars. So hopefully this helps you pick the cars that you should buy to maybe get on the list for those, because so far this is looking good, but we're gonna go get on a bit of a faster road and see what this car is like. Okay, so let's see, we're about to get a little bit of room to maybe push it a little bit. Unfortunately, we are in Toronto, so there is a speed camera sign right there. We'll do a quick roll before it. Sounds pretty good. It honestly sounds better than I expected. Most of these cars, you don't really hear anything unless you put an exhaust, and when you put an exhaust, it gets obnoxiously loud. So there's like not a lot of 911s with a good middle ground, but I think, you know, if you want to enjoy the sound for yourself, this is a good level of sound for that rather than be obnoxious. Now, I have no idea where the speed camera, oh, I see the speed camera, so we got to chill out a little bit. Problem with living in Toronto is that right here. So something I like about my GT4 and about like even some older GT3s is they're not that fast, which means you can kind of push it and feel like you're being crazy and you're just going all out. But in reality, you're probably not going to get in that much trouble. It's not a super unsafe amount of acceleration, even though it is kind of full out on the cars. And it might sound stupid because it's saying the cars are not fast in a straight line, which they're not too fast, but sometimes it's more enjoyable. You don't want to be going 200 before you notice it. You want to enjoy the way there. So this car, I mean, we're not going that fast. We're really not. We probably wouldn't go to jail if we got pulled over doing this, which it's not the best thing, but it's not the worst thing that can happen. To not go to jail. I mean, not to go to jail, but you can still enjoy the RPM range, and you're not being too irresponsible. You know, if you do that in a 650 horsepower Corvette Z06, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. Plus, you're going to be out of room very, very quickly. This car, you get to enjoy the way there. This is not a car that's meant to be fast on paper. It's not a car that's meant to win races. It's not a car to show off performance to anybody else. It's more a car to just make you enjoy your way to work, make you enjoy your way to wherever you want to go, even grocery shopping, because it is a 911. You can throw stuff in the back seats, you can throw stuff in the trunk, you can really live with this car. This is a very dailyable car. It's comfortable, a lot more comfortable than the GT3 will be, to be honest, and not too comfortable where it feels like, you know, a new Carrera 4S, which is just pretty much a more expensive Audi RS5 at this point. So this is really my type of car. I didn't think I'm going to like it that much. I honestly don't really like most of the 992s. I'm not here getting paid or sponsored or anything by anybody, but this is a lot more my type of car than any of those cars are. Okay, first gear. Second gear. You can really enjoy it. Like, you really can go through the gears, and when you shift, the shifter's clunky enough, it's heavy enough, the clutch is not too light. The old GT3 clutch felt like a Golf R clutch where you just, there's no weight to it, you just press it and it doesn't even feel like it's going to come back up. This, it's not like that. It's not as good as the Sport Classic clutch, but it's good. It is very good. I also just came from the heaviest clutch out there, so it's kind of hard to tell, but I do think this clutch has probably the best feedback other than the Sport Classic out of any 911 I've driven, like 992 and 992.2. I think might even be a more engaging clutch than the ST from what I remember. It's been a few months, but from what I remember, it's really not bad at all. And I don't really want any new Porsches, but if I were to buy one, this would definitely be a good contender for that. Okay, so the one thing with these cars, which I mentioned before, is the price. A basic 911, you know, when I was kind of in high school dreaming about buying a 911, I think I was like the 991.1s. You know, you can get them in Canadian, again, we're talking everything Canadian dollars. There were, I think, like 90-something thousand for a base. Obviously, you got to auction it out a little bit, but let's say 120,000 and you're good to go with a nice 911. Nowadays, that's not so much the case, and a car like this, with a lot of options, even though it's kind of more of a basic car, but the options are pretty loaded. After you take into account tax and luxury tax here in Ontario, or I think all of Canada, you end up at $200,000 out the door for a basic 911. And yes, there's a lot of expensive cars that are not that far away from that, but you know, there's also cars like a Corvette Z06 with 650 horsepower that you will spend less money on rather than this, and this needs to really be a proper driving experience for you to buy this instead of that car. And it's also easier to get a car like a Corvette Z06. But the other thing that you got to consider is, I think about 3 years ago, a 992.1 GT3 was within $30,000-$40,000 of this car, and there you got the top of the line. Here you're getting the basic car. Not only that, in my opinion, the 911's kind of peaked in the 997, 991 generations, and you can get a pretty nice 991.2 manual GT3 for the same price you can get this Carrera T. So with that car, you'd have to obviously consider, you know, you don't have a warranty, it's not a brand new car, maybe some of the technology is missing, but I think most of the things you want in a driver's car, features-wise, option-wise, are on that car back in the day in 2018. I mean, some people might care about the bigger screens, the digital cluster and all that, but I think your typical 911 owner doesn't really care about that stuff. So you get everything in that car. And yes, this comes with a warranty, but that car, you know, any 911 really is usually super reliable, and you don't really need a warranty. But I do get a lot of people want to have the latest, greatest thing, so this thing would make sense. Now, the only way this would actually make sense to buy it is if you do have 80% of the fun in this that you do in a older GT3. The older GT3 screams, it's alive, and it is so engaging to drive and shift if you have a manual transmission. Like, that car is absolutely great. So is this car as great? I gotta tell you, the shifting, the clutch, everything is super engaging. Auto rev match is actually better than it was in 2018. The engine feels a little bit less alive, but for everything else, I feel like the actual handling of the car, just the feeling of everything, again, you're not going to be pushing this car to the limit. You might track this here and there, but it's not a GT3. It's not supposed to just be unbelievable power. A car like this, it's a good amount, I'm not going to lie. It's a good amount, and it's so comfortable. I'm usually a big bucket seat fan. You can option this with bucket seats, but these comfort seats, if you're looking at daily drive this car, which I think is probably what the best use of this car is, honestly will do great. So what do I think about this car? It's not a GT3 replacement. It's not for the same guy looking for your PDK new Carrera S with all the leather everywhere and all the features and, you know, the big heavy car. This is for the guy that still wants to, you know, experience buying and speccing a new car. And, you know, a lot of people do buy these cars for the process of speccing it. You get, you know, you get to see your dream come to reality when you get the car. And when you're in the market for a used car, you don't really get that experience. So this is for the guy that still likes the old analog types of cars, probably has a few other cars, but wants something comfortable to drive in a lot and not really care about mileage, not really care about values, but still feel like he is in the 911 that he has probably grown to love his whole life, and wants to feel like times haven't really changed. And I think this might be one of the last 911s that you'll ever be able to do that with.